All right. We're live. We're back. It's Angel and Lucky. Welcome back.
2024 version. It's the 2024 version of us.
I'm not ringing in the new year correctly. I have the COVID. I have the coronavirus. I think it's COVID 20 because I've gone through the like feverish part and now I'm into the like shivery, like let's wear sweatshirts and be chilly and sniffly and shit. And just massive headaches, but yeah. And then I get to travel next week. So hopefully I'm not just sure about that. I'm COVID-19 positive. I got to travel.
And you're going to our favorite place to do it too. So that's a double whammy.
Going back to the PNW. Washington's in a weird spot right now. Washington is expecting a ton of snow. Western Washington anyway. I think Eastern Washington maybe as well. The Washington Huskies football team made it to the national championship game last night and lost. Everybody at work was
who'd they lose to?
Michigan, the Wolverines. It's a game I didn't watch because I don't
that I know much about this.
Yeah, I don't really.
I hear Michigan a lot, so like I know. I was like, oh, of course it was Michigan, as if I had any.
Yeah. Oh, obviously.
Obviously,
I mean, there were years where college football was intriguing to me, and there were years where like I was fairly confident that the Alabama Crimson Tide could legitimately beat the Cleveland Browns or something, like a pro team. They were that good, but I didn't watch any of the game. I didn't feel really good. So yeah, but it's 2024 now. I'm glad it's here. Finally, I've been waiting my whole life for this year. How are you doing?
I've never heard it put that way before.
People were stressed about Y2K. Yeah. I said, wait a minute. 24 years from now is when I'll get stoked.
I saw a clip of some movie where it was Jason X, the sci-fi Jason Voorhees movie.
It's an old one, right?
Where it's like from the 90s and
years from now.
In mid 90s somewhere, and I saw a clip of it and it was like it was like, this is the year. Apparently they were like looking at his old relics in the spaceship. I've never seen the movie, so I don't really know. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but it never held my attention, so I didn't commit anything to it. But this one clip, there's like four of them standing there looking, and they're like, what is that mask? And they're like, one of them said, it's a hockey mask. And the person's like, what's hockey? And they're like, oh, it's a violent sport that was banned in 2024. And I found that fascinating. Having just, been to a hockey game, and also my son plays hockey, so we're very immersed in hockey.
Sure.
And then just they're all having to wear neck guards right now because of that ninja kick guy that killed the other dude, that killed the guy over in Europe.
Wow.
Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was a guy who played for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he was playing in a European league over there for some reason.
Yeah.
And younger guy, not too old. And this other guy who was on the opposing team, who actually has a history of being like excessively violent and getting fined and all of this stuff for straight up like jumps and does a full on like side kick at head level and cuts the dude's neck, and he bleeds out on the ice and dies. Like full on manslaughter right on the ice. So now all the parents are freaking out, and they're all like, all the kids have to wear neck guards. And of course Oliver's like, I don't want to wear a neck guard. And so but yeah, I was like, what appropriate timing. Maybe 2024 is the year. I hope not. We'll have to have legal underground hockey leagues.
Yeah, you could tell them, don't fulfill the Jason Voorhees prophecy from Jason X from X number of years ago. For one. Right. For two, Chuck Norris didn't want to learn how to roundhouse kick either, and look where that took him. So, now that he was a universal force. Yeah. No, I didn't hear that. That seems like that guy should be drawn up on criminal charges for legit. Also, how do you? I get these guys are athletes and all, but like, how do you jump kick from sliding on the like? How do you
look at the video? It's wild.
Yeah, I'll have to.
All you have to do. Yeah, it's crazy. The video is insane. The guy, there's no way it was unintentional. Like, it was
Obviously
absolutely
not.
intentional. And he was meaning to hurt the guy, but not kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he killed him.
Seems not a good defense in court.
Right. And he did get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
He did bond out. So he is out, but they are pressing manslaughter charges on him for that because he just straight up killed a dude on the ice for complete negligence, if not just malicious intent.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else. I'm like, look, we've all seen The Last Boy Scout, that opening scene where the guy's running with the football and just shoots the dude, but
no.
2024.
He used the knife on his foot to.
I also, it harkens back to imagery. Probably a late night show. I was watching like David Letterman or something during the Tonya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan thing, and they like brought out an ice skate, and instead of a skate blade on it, it had like a regular kitchen knife on it that was like glued to the bottom of the boot and stuff. The Harding edition skates and stuff. Well, geez,
it's clever.
That's
2024.
Crazy. Yeah, 2024.
What do you got planned for this year? Like, you
don't
tend
know,
to
man.
be a planner.
So my life, I've taken some time to build a plan, and then it took me a whole year to execute it to move. Right, like I went for a long drive, worked on the road. I was like, this is where we're gonna have to make some adjustments. I'm gonna have to make a plan for this. And it took me a full year to execute. And I'm kind of in that mode again. Like, what is a big goal for the end of this year? And whether I change like employers or not, I think a new job is definitely like my target focus, like a new role.
Okay.
So that's something that when you get to a point, man, when you not only have a strong distaste for going in and working, but also the person you are at or are becoming while at work, it's kind of time to maybe rethink, hey man, let's look at some other stuff that you're interested in continuing to pursue. Plus, it's where I'm at is kind of has a pretty low ceiling as far as career advancement's concerned. So I think that's in focus. There's personal goals. Definitely want to figure out whether or not I want to get into like formalized track racing on the bike. I think that would be good. It's something I've also wanted to do for a while. I'm not very young, so I don't think I would have like a career in it, but it's like more like club racing and stuff. It's stuff I've always wanted to check out. Plus, it's a pretty safe environment. The problem is when you're by yourself, if you take a spill, it's always weird because no one, that's why I don't do cross-country motorcycle trips alone, because like if someone runs me off the road, no one's going to find me for months. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, he hasn't checked in a while. So there's some like logistics to go through, but
because I mean, at this point, due to work and other factors, and also just the state of the world right now, but those circumstances set aside, you've been in this new home and in this new city for a little over a year now. So, but you've been essentially importing friends and importing situational hangouts, essentially. You don't, other than some friendly neighbors that you're not really spending a whole lot of time with, other than on the occasional summer weekend. You don't really have a peer group down there as of right now. I mean, it will probably build over time, but your lifestyle does not really, outside of like motorcycle clubs and stuff like that, which you have not yet fully ventured into there, or car clubs or anything like that. you don't really have a social circle at the moment.
Right.
And so getting into this basically motorcycle racing club, essentially, if something were to happen to you, it would be strangers taking care of you, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So until one of us came from out of state to come help you.
That's kind of it. It's like, I've planted roots now, and the whole first year was not being able to go out much, had a lot to focus on getting the house livable, have to get the infrastructure right, need drinking water, blah, blah, blah. Lots of expenses. Now year 2 is kind of like, I would very much like to start living,
Yeah.
And like, I'll still have travels and stuff that I have to do that are work related or whatever, but ultimately that's the 2024 I'd like to put in focus, is like, hey, let's find some of the stuff that I'm interested in doing and actually do them,
Well, do you also think that maybe the new occupation might lead into that a little bit too? Like, you don't have a social circle with it, and you're not the type to really socialize with coworkers.
Right.
But I think that's kind of environmentally.
Yeah. Like, good
it's
reasons
more
for
so
that.
environmental. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but given a different work environment that might be more cohesive to your kind of ethos of thought and lifestyle, that maybe you might be able to branch out a little bit in the friendship realms of coworkers and such, maybe a little bit, and then also add in other kind of supplementary groups such as the motorcycle people and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the middle of this year is when I'm going to start to kind of plug into local politics a little bit more. Like, I actually have time mapped out for that, which is good. Because I think, like, to the things that your wife is doing, just being knowledgeable about what's going on in your own town is kind of, you and I are very much in agreement. That's where a lot of the stuff really starts. That's where the important things happen. And it's nice to get plugged into net new changes that are coming up. So that's on the menu as well. But realistically, it's so that I can kind of start living a little bit and like exploring, more of how to do that. Because if it were up to me and routine kind of reigns supreme, I just bury myself in work and I'll just have books on tape or podcasts on loop, and I'll just do that for months on end. I'll come up for air and be like, oh, you haven't left the house in like 4 weeks, it's not good. Right. So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking forward to, more or less, coming up this year. That, and, just trying to figure out like what is the next goal that I can put into focus. Like, I would like a little me time this year, my summer abroad. But other than that, just trying to put those into focus, I think, is really important, because I'm just flat out not stoked at where I'm at work. Like, I have a pretty good track record there, which is great, but I'm not happy with what I'm doing at all. Like, even close. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like, although it's been building for some time, in the last 6 months, it has really kind of boiled over to a point where it is not something that I see happiness in you or fulfillment in you anymore. It's just collecting a paycheck and getting through it is really kind of how it feels. And that's especially, I think, for a man, there is a sense of purpose in what we do. And when we feel like there's purpose, we feel fulfilled. Even if it's not paying that much, it doesn't really even matter what the pay is. That there's oftentimes that the value and the purpose of the work that you're doing, or the environment that you're in, if you feel fulfilled in that, there's a sense of accomplishment and pride in that, where if you've lost that, it doesn't matter how much money they're paying you. Like, if you feel that your value / purpose / like the whole ethics of the company or whatever is kind of taking you down, is it just doesn't matter anymore, and you kind of just start going through the motions. And that's kind of how it's felt. And obviously, I'm in no place to tell you how to live your life, obviously, but from an outsider's perspective, who knows you well, it has seemed that way.
Oh,
So,
and music too. I was very serious about that, getting plugged back in, which has been very rewarding, kind of stumbling down that journey too. But I'll do you one better, like to the point on purpose. That's exactly what I not only thought, but began to articulate at work as well, which was there's not a lot of purpose in some of the things that we're doing. Like I'm fascinated with that at the moment, and started to kind of draw parallels to a bunch of dead ends that were just time eater things to do. And I think that's what spurned maybe some pushback a little bit from some of the other folks that I work with, was kind of calling out, like, actually, I can tell you why this is not effective. I can show you the results of that. I can show you the results and the proof, right? The proof is kind of there. So I think that's kind of what started it, was like me actually articulating, like, there's not a lot of purpose in, not everything, but a lot of the things factored around our job that I'm doing. So I think that's kind of where a lot of this got started, is exactly what you said. I just spoke up about it. So
oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And I'm glad that you're also pursuing music too. And I think you'll find, like I said, fulfillment there. It's always been a part of you that you have always kind of put on the back burner for pursuit of other things. And
survival.
Yeah, absolute survival. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So I'm glad that you're in a place now where you feel comfortable, that you've got the space to be able to do that, to be able to kind of explore that again, and that you've got the inspiration to do it. I'm glad that that's there. So
yeah, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Like, I can articulate more of that, but I don't think anyone wants to sit through Angel's life story for the next X number of minutes. But how about you? Do you have any, like, 2024's here now? I know that it's probably harder with adult children to map out the next 5, 10, 15, but knowing that they're adults and that they're going to be moving quickly into the next phases of their young adulthood, what does that look like for this year for you? Any big plans or?
Not well. One of the things that is on the agenda for me is I would like to move out of this house. I just signed a 5.5-year lease for my shop, so that's not going anywhere. But this house is drastically overpriced for rent, and so as a way to help my finances, I'm hoping to move the family into a similar sized unit, and not too far from here, actually. That is got a better yard. They're friends of ours, so they'll allow us to, like, garden and have chickens if we want, stuff like that. And love our dogs, love our kids, and have no problem, but it's a dramatic rent decrease. And so that's one big goal for me, which I hate moving, but if it's gonna cost me $1,000 or less a month, I'm absolutely down to do that. So as far as throughout the year, I've got a couple of big kind of key points that I want to do. 3 of them specifically is I'm going to try to get my son in braces this summer. And then I've got to go to Washington, D.C. for my cousin Victor's wedding, and that's in May. And then in the middle of June, from what we've now decided, the middle of June to about the 25th or 26th is when we got to be back. We're going to come down and visit you. And then we're going to go to Lake Havasu for a collective hangout time with my father's side of the family, because the viewers may not know, I did not have a relationship with my dad from the time I was 6 until I was 27.
Mm-hmm.
And so, big gap, no contact, stuff like that. Since then, it's been awesome.
Right.
We've had
I've
a
met
really
your
great
dad.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude, but he lives in Indiana, so I don't get to see him very much. And he was removed from my life for 20 years. So like I didn't have that same hard wiring
Right.
as he is. The like I am closer to you than I am to my
Sure.
half brothers and sisters out there, and
Yep.
that due to just time and exposure and being understanding and coming up together and having that life together. Where him, it's like I love him and there's no doubt about that, and I miss him and I wish we could be closer, but he doesn't come to the front of mind like my sister or like my mom or
Right.
like you, who I've been around for all that time, and I feel guilty about that. There's one thing that, which the guilt shouldn't really be on me, but it is because I'm that kind of guy. But the other thing is that I have a grandmother who's still alive, and she lives in Lake Havasu, and I have 2 aunts that I haven't seen since I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen my grandmother one other time when we went out to visit. She happened to be there, and Oliver was like, I want to say 4 or 5 when we went out there.
Yeah.
So, and that was the last time I saw her. And so there's aunts that are going to be there, my Aunt Kimmy and my Aunt Karen, and they have kids, my cousins that I've never met. And so all of my brothers and sisters and all of my cousins and aunts and uncles and everybody and my grandmother are all going to gather. We're all planning to gather and
That's
like
gonna be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, they've never met, a lot of them never met my kids. They've never met my wife. They've never met me, so it's going to be kind of a huge thing for the family. And I think there's only going to be like really one opportunity to do this. Before my grandmother isn't with us anymore. I mean, she's still pretty spry. I keep seeing videos of her dancing around in the kitchen. So like she's doing pretty good, but like, you never know. You never know and I don't want to waste it. I don't want to not take that opportunity. So that's on the horizon. And then just, I don't know, kind of work stuff, but I don't have anything that really, like life changing.
Yeah. Like Hallmark achievement stuff that you're going toward.
Yeah, Kate's gonna stick around for a while. She's she got a new job working at the coffee stands, and she's loving it. So she's just now starting to make tips and is actually having a really good time. But Oliver's still got a couple years of being a kid, and we're totally cool with that. But Kate is kind of starting to veer off and venture into the realm of adulthood, and I have no worries about that at all. This kid's so prepped. She's already been buying like plate sets and silverware. She has all of her own silverware. Like she's got all the stuff. Like she'll have
a fully furnished apartment when she's ready to move.
Right. Unlike how we always did it, where we like stole forks from like restaurants and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it is, curbside couches. It's clean enough. Throw it in the apartment. Yeah, she's going to be way more prepared. And, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what this year has in store for the both of them, but it's from more of a guidance and observational standpoint than it is a like active participant at this point. So, but yeah, no, I think 2024. I mean, honestly,
weird to hear.
Really,
that's all. It's just weird to hear. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I still think of them as wee small. Like, it took me 10 years to get to the fact that you had kids. Mentally, when I think about it, oh right, kids, and then like it's now I still think they're little, like, they're not.
I know.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, is that we're not alone in being a little on the shock side when I came into fatherhood.
Right.
And it happened immediately too. It wasn't like I got married and we had a kid within that year. So
Right.
it was, we did not wait. And, but it was, I think for a lot of people who knew me for a long time, they were kind of split down the middle on that. They were like, either this guy is going to have a family and kids, or this guy's going to live on my couch forever. Like it was like
Yeah.
one of those two. So our friend Patrick to this day is still shocked that I'm not some punk rock hobo somewhere.
Right.
So, but
the door guy at the local venue tattooing on the side kind of thing.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of, I think, what he had early on predicted my future would look like. But besides that, yeah, no, I think what is really going to probably dictate a lot of both of our plans, and I think actually in conjunction with the rest of the country, is the 2024 political cycle is going to get bananas. And
it's already ramping up down here with the solicitation calls and the door knockers, and like people still do that in neighborhoods down here, you know, and
that's wild.
It's like, wow. Yeah, it's heating up.
Yeah,
oh my
it's
god.
Gonna be... So you said I want yeah, what is this about?
Flights.
Like you
so
brought it up prior to the show, and I had seen a clip of it, but I didn't understand what was going on, and I was doing other stuff, so I just kind of went, well, if it's important, it'll keep blowing up a little bit more. But
so I'm gonna go from memory. So take this fact checking opportunity as it happened, and I'm telling the truth, but grain of salt with the numbers because COVID brain right now. Right. I do know it was Alaska Flight 1282, and basically this flight took off from Portland, Oregon, and it was headed to a smaller town in California state, like San Jose or Ontario, something like that.
It was Ontario, which is just south of Orange County. It's in Orange County, but there's John Wayne, there's LAX, John Wayne, and then Ontario, and that's a little further south, and that's where it was headed. I do remember that. Yep.
So there's 117 people on board, and about 20 minutes into the flight, they were at 16,000 feet. I think the story would have been way different if they were at 38,000 feet. But one of the bolts blew off of a Boeing 737 MAX, and so the door by the emergency row just blew out of the plane. So the force was enough where instantly cabin pressure changed, and instantly the oxygen masks dropped from the top, and the kid that was sitting right there had his t-shirt ripped off of his body. That's how much the pressure is. So he's fine wearing a mask, doing a thumbs up, no shirt, red marks under his armpits and stuff where it was just yanked from his body and thrown from the aircraft, and nobody else was hurt, and everyone safely made it down. They immediately started descending, turned the flight back, and emergency landed where they took off in Portland. And I get this notification like immediately after purchasing my flight for work to Seattle, and I'm not an Alaska mileage person. I'm a Delta mileage person, because the only reason is because the Alaska terminal's kind of a bitch to get to. It's Terminal 3 at McCarran, and Delta's over in Terminal 1, so it's easier to get in and out of with an automobile a lot. But you still have to like ride a train and do escalators and put a blood sample in and all this shit just to get to your gate, which is a nightmare. But absolutely crazy story, but it gets better. It's the same aircraft that, if you remember, there was one that killed a bunch of people because it just failed and immediately nosedove into just outside of Jakarta. And then again, there was the Ethiopia flight number, I can't remember, that also crashed, all within the last like 3-4 years, and it's the same aircraft. So when the Jakarta one happened, I remember that all of the airlines collectively grounded the 737 MAX. This model of aircraft was collectively grounded. And the only other thing I find interesting is that the flight we're discussing, 1282, was just safety certified like a month before this flight, like fresh out of certification. This one. and the door fucking just blew off in the middle of the flight. And it wasn't, again, high altitude would have been a massively different situation. Like we would have lost some people. But there's people like with oxygen masks on, just holding their phones up, trying to record stuff around them and behind them, trying to figure it out. There's one dude that's like, you can see him. He's got a puffer jacket and he's just zipping it up and half the plane's missing right next to him. And he's just kind of like, you know, it's like a row or two up and he's just sitting there like looking at a city he's about to land in and stuff. And craziness. I mean, this whole pods is a story after story of absolute craziness. But yeah, I was going to try and slide a jab in at Portland or something like that. But I just can't. Like, that's horrifying. And flights are like way safer than cars, I think, on like mathematical averages.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. But
the fucking door just blew off. And like, thank God that the flight crew was like super calm and cool, and all the passengers stayed really calm, and everyone was just like, yeah, that sucked a lot. Nobody was hurt.
So why was it? I thought you like weren't all of these aircraft supposed to be grounded, and why was it not?
Like 3-4 years ago when the Jakarta one happened, and which I think was after the Ethiopia one, and it was the same model aircraft, they grounded them all so that they could all be certified like worldwide. If you have this model of airplane, it's not flying. And if it wasn't worldwide, at least the FAA in the United States grounded them, and they went through a bunch of like double, triple check safety inspections of like 2 planes in a matter of a couple of years, like same model. What's going on? Now this is the 3rd one. So they were grounded. They were re-released for like, hey, okay, everything checks out. There's no methamphetamine on this Metro bus. And then it got to 16,000 feet and said nope and just shit itself. And the door just came off. Yeah, the door just flew off. So yeah, I presume when the investigation's done, and it'll take weeks, I'm sure, before the final investigation's done. They'll go through the black box recorders and the whole 9 yards and the manifests and piece it together. But I'm sure they'll ground that plane again.
Isn't this the one where the black box recorder was erased?
No, the Jakarta flight was recovered, or no, it was the Ethiopia one.
No. I think it's this one.
Oh, this one. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a whole like big scandal going on because they secretly took the black box recorder and erased a chunk of it.
Just clearing the code so you can pass your smog inspection. Like
apparently there was something going on with that. That's one of the details that I did pick up because I've seen more videos on that than the actual.
Oh yeah,
like, I've never seen the kid's shirt off or anything.
Oh yeah, the passenger side of this is what I was kind of augured into. I'll have to look around for that, but I know that the recorders that they did recover from the earlier flights, one of them, and I don't remember if it was Ethiopia or the Jakarta one, but it showed a failure in the aircraft that the pilots then fought the entire time that the plane was going down, like the manual inputs versus what the plane was doing and what failed. So they were doing the most and tried their best, and they just couldn't recover it. And I think everybody was lost on that flight too.
Wow.
So whatever is going on with this 737, I think it's the MAX 8. Probably should have looked that piece up before talking about it. Everyone's like, I got a flight tomorrow.
I know.
If it's a Boeing flight, don't get on it. Just joking. That's everybody.
Who made that one?
Yeah. Do we have any Lockheeds in the fleet? No, they're all Boeing, sir. Ground them. Yeah, just absolutely nuts. But it was the irony I found super ironic because it's like, couple of years back when I had a birthday and I went to check the mail and I got like the AARP welcome like sign in. I'm just like, fuck you guys. I'm not there yet. As soon as I booked my flight, it's like this breaking news about the door flying off this Alaska flight. Oh, know about this. And I got to go up to the Northwest. Can we just sidestep? Just don't even go over Portland. I don't want any of that on me.
It's all cursed.
Yeah. Get it away. Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting thing. We'll probably follow up on that one because now I'm curious to know if there's some fuckery going on with the black box.
Well, the first flight that I'm about to go, or that I'm going to go on since COVID, I haven't flown since the COVID lockdowns, is going to be in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've never had a fear of flying before, but I'm a little anxious about this one. And I don't know why. I've been thinking about it. And I'm like, "Ooh," I don't know if it's just the stigma of like the bad taste left in my mouth over the masking and vaccines and all that, of having
Right.
to have that to fly, and just all the videos of all of the chaos that goes on at airports and people fighting on planes all the time, and just all of that.
Mhm.
Then mixed with the idea that there has been a severe lack in the employment um, of pilots
Mhm.
and of crew and of staff, and it is terrifying to think that corners may be cut due to
Right.
budgets and all of that. And
No, it's
just
bananas. Like the one thing you'll probably still experience, and hopefully level heads will prevail as time goes on and we re-normalize from the lockdown stuff. The just the intense amount of self-entitlement by the passengers is outrageous. Like we didn't have anyone like speaking up or screaming, but I've flown 10 times since like the stop of COVID, like in the last, I don't know, 13 months. And just idiocy. Like, well, I pre-ordered that and I expect it, and like, well, they're out, we don't have it, you know, what are you going to do about it? And just people bitching and back and forth and pushing out of the way. And it's like, oh my God, I had one guy, like flight attendants locking themselves in, preparing for takeoff, and homeboy's like, I gotta piss. So he just gets up we're on the runway. We're like about ready to start speeding up. We're like sitting, we're all alone. Planes are waiting on us. And he just marches up to the front, and like the flight attendant's like, bro, sit the fuck down right now. So we had to wait, and then they had to go count heads, and it was ridiculous. Plus that's a kind of a long flight. Hopefully you don't have massive layovers. Is it a direct for you?
I don't know. Haven't looked into
you
it
gotta
yet,
you gotta book them still. Yeah, it's get a late flight if you can get away with one where you're landing early in the morning or something, or late at night so people are asleep.
I like those. Yeah. I like red eyes.
It's dark, so people are quiet, you know, they're probably took pills, let them be. Yeah.
Yep, that's how I prefer it too. And I mean, just even in normal circumstances, if I'm doing a long flight, I want the time travel flight where I go to sleep and wake up and I'm there.
See, I can't sleep on planes, but I'll tell you one thing, man. The flight not to take, don't be like this guy. I highly encourage you not ever fly out of Las Vegas, Nevada on March the 18th, early in the morning.
Day after.
Oh man,
St. Patrick's Day.
Just the groundswell of zombies. Just you could smell them. Just trying to figure out where am I? What flight am I on? Still wasted. I mean, dry heaving on the plane. I saw it all. I saw everything.
Especially this year, I think it's on a Saturday, or maybe it's a Sunday. I think St. Patrick's Day is on a Sunday. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll have to check. It was brutal.
It's my
though.
wedding anniversary, so I should remember that. But
you got the date. That's fine.
Yeah. Did you see? Have you seen this video? Have you seen this video? I saw this video, and I mean, it's been going around. But can we talk about and I think it was in your neck of the woods, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
This guy who is getting sentenced for domestic violence situations.
Did you watch the long view version of that video? The banter they had before the sentencing thing, or did you just catch up with the bounding part?
I think I saw the long view video one after I watched the other one from various postings on
Memes.
repeat. Yeah, but this, like the long one where he was like prattling on about how he's changed and all the things he's planning to do with his life, and she's like,
yeah, and I should have let you set the table before jumping in there. Somebody attacked a judge during their sentencing trial in Las Vegas is what we're talking about, by the way.
And by attacked, WWE like full on flew sideways over.
He looked like a luchador jumping from the top rope, like he just jumped over the, what do they call that, the judge's bench?
Yeah, the bench.
The bench. It's just I mean,
just right over.
It looked like he Rey Mysterio that Johnson over the top rope and just took this woman out. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, dang.
Yeah.
You know, that guy's got ups. Like that was an impressive move. And
where was the bailiff on that? Like, not even in frame. You know what I mean? I'm like, even the TV judges have a monster sitting in the room with a badge on and a nightstick, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, that guy got a clear shot. And I mean, she saw it coming for like 3 seconds before he even like that you saw him in the frame. She's like, oh no, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And like,
in her eyes, she's like, this isn't happening, right until like the body left the ground and was like right up to about eye level, and then she kind of like tried to roll over for cover. And then also to set the scene, as this fight is now going on, where people are now jumping in on the guy that's being sentenced or whatever, there's a guy in the foreground in a suit. I don't know if he's prosecutor, if he's defense, whatever, just kind of looking over, just standing there doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. He must have been on the other guy's counsel. He must have been on the dude's counsel, because he's like, well, if I beat up my client, how does that look? You know,
it was like that Michael Jackson popcorn meme. He's just kind of looking over there like, oh, wow, that looks bad, you know?
Yeah.
Stick and move, Judge Judy, stick and move, you know?
I think he got a couple of good shots on that lady too before they finally pulled her off. But she was absolutely in the right. If you look at that guy's rap sheet, it was like, yeah, dude, you're just gonna say whatever you want, or whatever you need to get out of this situation. But you've already committed the crime, and this is a pattern of crime. We're gonna teach you a lesson here. And he wasn't having it. He's like, oh hell no, and then he like jumps over that thing and whoo. But it took a bunch of people to rip him off of her. And there was the big bailiff guy who was really kind of doing the lion's share of the work there. And then there was this other guy in a suit as well.
Yeah, the little guy.
Yeah, the little guy, and he's like throwing like little punches, and then he just starts hitting him like this, and it
looked like it was like if you were to hold like a stapler or something, like, but he's pounding him with like this side of his fist. For those listening, it's like not the front part how you imagine punching somebody, but the bottom of your hand, where he's like kind of hammer fisting the guy a little bit. But the strokes are only like, I mean, 7 to 12 inches, maybe. He's just kind of Arm & Hammer baking soda powdering that guy in the head.
Oh, but he went home and told all of the glory stories.
Oh man,
he was like,
he probably told him he was Shawn Michaels and he's got like the championship belt or something.
Yeah,
it was. Okay, for content, that was fucking awesome. Like, I couldn't have thought of a better way to end my last week. For a reality perspective, that's, I mean, not great. You don't know. If you thought your sentence was going to be rough, it just got infinitely worse, my guy. Infinitely worse.
He actually came in for his resentencing. Did you see the photos of that?
No, I didn't. I don't know why I didn't look for that, because I was definitely going, I wonder what's going to happen now.
Full Hannibal Lectered. They've got him full Hannibal Lectered.
The Chewy mask and everything?
Dude, he's got a full mask around him, like a spit mask.
Same judge?
He's got like these crazy, same judge. And she's just like, oh, Hammer. And
I
think she added a ton of time on.
I'm certain of it, yeah.
Yeah, but he's in an orange suit now, like, and like on a like a dolly thing, and they've got him all like locked up. They gave him the Hannibal Lecter, and it was so great.
That's fantastic. So our advice from this podcast, and I think I speak for both of us, maybe let's not jump the bench and assault your judge during a sentencing trial, or you're going to get Hannibal Lecter
in general. I think anybody in general, unless there's a really good reason for you, like you're protecting somebody, or but in this any case at all, you don't do this at McDonald's, you don't do this at any place where people are doing their jobs. I just say just don't do that.
It's not good. It's not good. The memes have been absolutely outrageous, where it's just that 3-second jump on repeat, where it's inserting how I feel when, or like You
They've
know,
been really good. Yeah.
when someone doesn't Lego my ego, I saw that, and he just takes that flying leap. Like, there's been some quality stuff out there.
I think
The
this one's
internet's
got,
undefeated with that shit.
I think it's got wheels too. I think this one we're going to be seeing at least a good solid year of memes off of this one. So,
yeah,
I'm looking forward to them.
Point scored for Las Vegas, bringing the entertainment capital of the world, even in the courtroom, I guess. Speaking of court and stuff and unsealed documents and redacted, we've heard a lot about some stuff surfacing from Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Oh yeah.
And
yes, we have.
I don't think we should spend a wealth of time on this, because what I've read and seen is very filtered and it's very news centric. So whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not super surprised. Like, of all the things that have been revealed with, like, because ahead of this, we kind of knew about the Clinton relationship, and we kind of knew about certain people that were high influence. And the part that I find fascinating with like high influence people like Bill Gates and stuff like that is Epstein may not have been the billionaire that he led on. Like, so how he connected with people like this in those circles, and then just presumably, and this is me injecting myself into this story, probably catered to like all the weird twisted, you know, desires and stuff, like tried to be that broker. But like, just getting an audience with those people for not really being super wealthy, kind of his whole empire, the way it's being reported is that it's like, well, he had a handful of Ponzi schemes and he had a handful of this and that. That's kind of what inflated his wealth, but he wasn't like, he didn't have like the back, you know, he didn't have a financial backing to portray the lifestyle that he lived or whatever, save for certainly there was connections with very well-known people, probably paying him for stuff that is starting to come out now. But I'm not super surprised at what I saw. Anything strike you besides Hawking?
Stephen Hawking. Speaking of memes,
oh my god, dude!
Oh, those are screaming hot. The memes about. Have you seen the one with the long-haired dude in the wheelchair, just like going underwater, like just like doing flips underwater, trying to get Stephen Hawking trying to get to Epstein's island?
I did.
Oh, dude!
I saw they had like a South Park style, like cartoon of it where it's like Hawking and somebody else in the same disabled setup, like dirty talking one another in the like mechanical voice, like oh yeah.
I was just here for the snorkeling. I was just here for the snorkeling.
But there were people there that are allegedly talking about like what people like Stephen Hawking wanted them to do and different stuff like that, like the little person. And I don't know if you saw all that.
Yeah.
But it was just like, my God, man. So the whole thing,
I think there was probably specialty reason, things there, but really what the whole point of the Epstein stuff was, and like, you're right, he did not have a lot of his own personal wealth.
Right.
But what is being kind of more than speculated, and it's definitely in the realm of like people understand this as the reality of what it was. Obviously an operation it was a blackmail operation, and what most people understand it to be is that he obviously had ties to the CIA, some even say to Mossad and some other agencies, where they could get leverage on people but I don't think anybody was going out to that island that didn't already know what was going to happen there. But I think, or at least didn't know at least the reputation at the very least.
Right.
You can't, especially after, in those circles, and especially after his 2008 conviction on it, and all of the other stuff. Everybody and anybody had to have known, and.
Like I know where is it Ghislaine, his wife?
I think it's not his wife. They
Girlfriend,
were never
partner,
together.
Whatever.
The partner, yeah. And I think it's actually pronounced Ghislaine. Not the Z is silent.
I know where Ghislaine Maxwell's money came from, and I know what her father did to acquire it, but How
he was actually a Mossad agent, like officially, not like that's where the connection comes from, is that Ghislaine's.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised
if you look at her sisters too. Her sisters are really, really crazy too.
Yes.
But
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if like these agencies leveraged Jeffrey Epstein and his partner to get to these other people. Like he's not working for the CIA. He's being used by the CIA to gather and garner more blackmail and other stuff. But on the side, probably being allowed to do whatever the fuck it was that he was doing to offer services to these people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, I don't think he was a CIA agent, in my opinion. I would imagine he was probably just being used by them for the same blackmail and information on powerful people.
Oh yeah. He was an asset. Oh. Basically, after his 2008 conviction, which he was already kind of in that world anyway, he was already doing all this stuff, and they caught him, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to give you a slap on the wrist, but guess what? You're an asset now, and all of the information that you get, you're giving to us so that we can put it on file, so that if we ever need to use it."
That's my assumption. Is like, hey, here's the book we could have thrown at you. Instead, you're going to work for us, and we're just going to throw a little book at you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think he was an agent. I think he was an asset.
I do too.
And so, that being said, there's more tapes coming out. There's more information coming out. The newest ones that just came out, apparently there was videos of Bill Clinton that came out. And so that's pretty damning. And apparently there's some information on Hillary as well.
Goes beyond just the blue dress, huh?
Yeah. The thing is that of course, everybody wants to, they're all biting their nails to find out whether or not Trump's name's going to come up, right? And it came up, but it came up in exonerating ways. They're like, yeah, no, we never dealt with him. And he did kick it back at the 2008, or actually, I think it was even prior. I think it was 2003 or 2004. He kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and has never contacted him since. He's never had any contact with him since. So he knew early on, but everybody wants Trump to be in these files, and apparently the ones that dropped today, one of the key witnesses, one of the girls, she actually exonerated him entirely, like saying he's never been a part of this or whatever. But
and that's gonna crack open the giant can of, well, he must have paid her off for that. There's another conspiracy. It's Russia all over again.
Well, if there was any evidence, any at all, like if Trump was involved in this in any way, shape, or form, and there was documents or there was video, they would have released him immediately.
We would have heard about it.
Yeah, they would have released him in 2016 just to keep him from getting anywhere near the White House.
I agree.
And then again in 2020. Like, you think they're going to pull every lever in the book except for that one?
Right.
You know, they're going to if they had that stuff, they wouldn't even have had to make up the Russian collusion thing. They wouldn't have had to make 100%. Up any of that other stuff. They were like, "Oh no, we don't need to make anything up. Here's all this evidence of him being a pedophile, like, you know, a rapist. Here's all the information. Keep him, you know, sink him." But they obviously did not have that, or they would have used it. So
I had a person I work with, who will remain redacted for the purposes of this comment, who made up a bunch of Mueller pins, like for your shirt. And it was before the Mueller report came out.
How lame.
They were expecting a victory lap on that one, and they just did
hero status on this guy.
Yeah, they didn't get one, and so I wore that pin every day for like probably 6 months. And
Team Mueller. Yeah. You and me, Team Mueller.
That person was like, "Dude, take the fucking pin off." Like, I don't even. It's like, but it was a gift. You gave it to me. What happened? Did he get the high score? Did he break the game? What happened? Yeah. It's fun. I love this stuff. So yeah, ultimately not really surprised at what we're seeing as far as names being implicated.
Yeah, nothing that came out that really kind of was shocking to me, other than just, you know, the whole you know, and with everybody else, the Stephen Hawking thing was like, I love the fact that it was, from what they say, they would import little people to do complicated math equations,
complex
on a
math problems.
chalk,
Yeah,
on a too high chalkboard, so they were reaching. Oh man, and I have not yet been able to verify this because that, to me,
neither have I. But what kind of complex do you have to have where you're just laughing at, so like, you can't reach, can you? Carry the one, bro. Carry the one. Just ha ha. You can't reach. Steve, calm down, man. Calm the fuck down. I haven't verified that either. But you know, like the person that was, you know, reportedly the one that was actually involved or whatever is talking about it and reenacting it and stuff. And there's no purpose to it other than to just be like, really? Like,
because, I mean, is he getting kind of sexual gratification out of this? Because
I
that's kind
guess
of the whole purpose of it. But like, that's weird.
That's being like, so what, you know, if Martha Stewart comes out, so what, you know, what was Martha Stewart up to at Epstein Island? She just brought people in to mix ingredients and make muffins like the whole time.
But tell them that they're doing it wrong.
They had to use their hands. They couldn't use utensils. That was the weird.
No utensils, and she was just really mean, like really uncharacteristically mean to them. Like, she's normally very nice to everybody, but this was her thing. She was like really into making people mix ingredients and yell at them. Like,
dude,
yeah.
that's perfect. Like that fits. I saw an adjacent meme to that, I believe, on Instagram, where this guy like slides in front of a hotel, rolls the window down, and there's this woman in a short skirt or whatever standing outside the window, and he's like, she like leans over into the car, and he's like, "How much to let me win an argument?" And she's like, $100. He's like, "Get in." So she gets in the car, and she's like, $50 extra, and I won't tell you how to drive either. And he's like, "Okay." And then it cuts to another scene when they're in a hotel room, and he's pacing around being like, "And that's why I want to spend just one holiday at my own house instead of having to travel all the time." And she's laying on the bed with her arms crossed. She's like, "You're right, honey. I'm sorry. You win." And he's like, "Oh, you're good. What's your Venmo?" It's like possibilities on Epstein Island kind of thing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
I'll have to dig it out. I'll have to dig it out and
find
send
it for me and send it over. Yeah, because that would be so great.
Yeah, it's pretty solid gold.
Speaking of Martha Stewart, it's funny you brought her up. Did you see that picture that just came out of her? That she, like, the selfie she took in the mirror, and everyone's posting it. This lady's 82 years old, and she posted this thirst trap picture, and it's wild. She's standing in what looks like her bathroom mirror. I'm looking for this photo because it's crazy. She's like,
she posted on Thirsty Thirst Day on the interwebs.
Dude, look at this. I just found it. Here it is. Well,
we're doing this in real time, everybody.
Yeah, I'll hold it up to the camera to see if you guys can see this.
Wow. What's the point of this?
I don't know. She's 82.
Is that like a new evening wear line she's about to launch? And why does why does she have a bag? What's the strap in her hand underneath her phone? For those of you listening, and we appreciate you. She's wearing like a nightgown with a little shawl type of jacket piece over it. And she just took a picture of herself in a bathroom mirror.
Martha Stewart 7 or 80 or selfie, and you'll be able to find it. Yeah, even the caption says Martha Stewart 82 posts thirst trap in lace nightgown.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. This lady.
Good week for TMZ, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. Real quick, I just saw this today, and I actually watched a video that so I know as much as Tim Pool knows about it, essentially. Because I watched he did a story on it today. Because I had seen a news article, but I didn't read it. I just saw the headline. And um so there is a large community, obviously, in a whole like boroughs and suburbs of New York City that are almost predominantly, of Jewish culture and Jewish faith there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And anybody who's been into any metropolitan area knows that there's probably a section where the Jewish community kind of congregates and lives and has their synagogues and
Yeah,
their
50
families and
Cent even
businesses.
rapped about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, there's a story today, and it is really weird.
Mhm.
And I'm really looking forward to keeping an eye on it to find out what actually happened here, because apparently there was a synagogue in one of the Jewish parts of New York City.
Mhm.
And a lot of the older members of the church, a lot of the older men, started to do had to renovate something, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but this is kind of what I gathered, is that they went to go do a renovation of some kind. And when they did, they found a hole where a tunnel under the building had been burrowed and looks like it'd been there for a while, and that they were actually working on tunnels under New York City going from what seems to be
Now
synagogue to synagogue.
they being other members of the synagogue.
Yes,
Yeah.
the young men of the synagogue. So the older Jewish gentlemen were just like, you can't do this. A, it's illegal. B, it's super weird. And C, it's sacrilegious to do this within the synagogue, and you didn't have permission to do any
And
of this.
D,
So,
that's how you get roaches. Right.
right. And so they hire a construction crew to come in and start filling in the tunnels, like pouring cement down there and going, no, we're not doing this. Without really actually, from what I understand, really exploring the explanation as to why they were digging these tunnels and what they were for. But then
That's the part that gets me. Don't you think you'd want to go look at what's down there? What are you guys
Well, they
burying down
did.
here? Yeah.
Right. The old guys didn't really want to, apparently, but then when the construction company came in, they had to kind of survey what was going on down there.
Yeah.
But as they came in, an army of these young Jewish members of the synagogue and Jewish community came in, and they were all a bunch of young dudes, and they started protesting and like pushing back and stopping the construction from happening to protect these tunnels, and like flipping furniture and all sorts of craziness. And then the cops showed up, and they were having to arrest these guys because they were fighting the police about protecting these tunnels. And so the police and everybody decided, we got to go down there and find out what they're protecting. So they go down there, and it's just weird. It's so weird. There's just like, they have video footage of them going through the tunnels, and there's all of this weird stuff. They're finding like mattresses, like soiled mattresses, what looks to be like big blood stains on these mattresses, and all sorts of stuff. And you would think that if it was just their, dirty boy drug and sex cult tunnels, that they'd all scatter and go, I don't know what that's about, it has nothing to do with me. But they all like came together to protect it in this really odd way.
It's weird behavior. It's also, where did they put all that dirt?
Oh, it shows. It's all off to the sides. There's just soil all over the place.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so they pulled some of it out, but then they started finding that there were people down there.
There's people down there.
There was Jewish guys down there in like the full black suits with the black hats and the curls and everything, and they start running and scattering in the tunnels. And then they've got film of guys like popping up from like well crafted like secret
Escape routes.
sewer plates in the streets,
no.
and this guy like pops up these bars, sets it to the side, and it's perfectly cut so his body can slip right out of it. And he pops up, and this guy with the camera's like, what the hell? And the guy like is the Jewish guy's shielding his face, and then scampers off into the street. and it's just bizarre. It's just, and they're like, the guy just popped out of the street.
A
like,
man came from the earth just right there.
Yeah, like a Ninja Turtle. It was bizarre. And so, and so they don't really have any answers
now,
yet.
this
or
broke
at least they're not
today?
saying it. I think it broke yesterday.
Yesterday?
But like,
okay.
But I saw the story today, and Tim Pool reported it on today. And so I'm fascinated. The synagogue and that organization of that kind of sect of their church actually put out a statement, but it was really kind of vague and did not really explain anything. It was just like, thank you for the community coming and helping us and being behind us on everything and da 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 da. But like, there hasn't been a police statement. They haven't done an investigation statement. They haven't there's been no explanation as to what the purpose of the tunnels were for.
Meanwhile, the Catholic Church was very excited to take a breather on the bench for a few minutes while the rest of the world looked at the synagogue before getting thrown back into the starting lineup.
Yeah, they're like amateurs. Those are weak. Those are weak tunnels. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, finally,
with your tunnels.
Somebody else is being looked at. Jesus Christ. Yeah. No, I heard nothing of this until the pre-show meeting. I'm very eager to take a look at what's going on with this tunnel system, and perhaps
I didn't know what to call it. I literally, for my notes, I wrote down Jew tunnels.
Right, the Jew tunnels in New York.
And you're like, did that say Jew tunnels? And
yeah, I had to ask.
Let me explain.
I was like, wait, what is this? What kind of tunneling is this? So, yeah, I mean, do you know how many of the younger men were arrested? Like, was it like
I don't. There was at least a couple dozen, from what I understand. That's kind of what they implied, is that there was multiple arrests. Because the videos are crazy. There's a ton of videos, and they're just like fighting cops and like flipping tables in this giant synagogue, and like flipping over all the pews and like trying to barricade around the tunnel area so that they can't get. I mean, it's wild. It's really
like
crazy.
When a frat house gets busted up for gambling, illegal gambling or something, they just scatter.
Right, except for they all scattered. These guys like huddled around the hole and were like, "Don't come near our hole." And like, it's
how do you not know? I mean, if it's a really elaborate series of tunnels.
Yeah.
How long were they at this, and how did you not know that was going on? They all would have had to have like volunteered on non-synagogue days to go dig tunnels for some secret reasons.
Apparently the elders of the church the synagogue did not know that this was happening and were shocked to discover it. Now, as far as motivations go, I know, right?
But
well, they were the ones who were trying to fill it in, and before the construction company and also the cops even got involved. It's not like the city found it. The city didn't find it. That's
why I think they knew. That's why I think they knew. Is they're just like, let's just put concrete down there right now. Let's get a construction crew in here. Yeah. We're not even going to go looking. We don't even want to know what's going on down there.
They're all in Florida right now for a vacation. Let's do this.
How many little people you got down there solving math problems? Like.
Well, and the only thing, the motivation that I was trying to think of a motivation of like what would cause them to, instead of scatter from crime,
defend it,
defend it,
right,
to a point of like showing their faces and defending it.
Unless they knew there was like a bunch of people down there that could have got buried alive, but I mean,
that's also
we don't know what we don't know.
True,
yeah,
right. And the only thing I could think of was it has to have a religious component to it. It has to be something that they were doing in a way, because that's the only thing that you would really go to jail for in that particular case, is saving someone's life or a religious component that is, there's something sacred down there that they are doing that they find sacred, and that's, so they want to protect it. And that's the only thing I can think of that, it's still weird, but it's the only thing I can think of as far as of a motivating factor to why. So I'm curious to see how this story plays out and if I'm right, if that's what it is.
Listen, young men with tree houses and or secret elaborate tunnels that are subterranean in nature are probably generally not up there or down there for religious reasons, in my experience. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
yeah.
fair.
What a weird start to 2024. I can't wait. I can't wait for the rest of this year.
Yeah,
maybe bath salts will make a
year...
screaming comeback. Who knows?
Ooh, that would be cool.
I mean, it sounds like anything goes at this point.
Yeah, big old. Like, have you ever seen that crocodile drug where it just melts flesh off people's bones? And
I
stuff?
have. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get a good surge of that somewhere.
Yeah. Listeners,
I don't know.
Hang in there. We're off to an interesting start. We'll say that much.
I think 2024 is going to tell 2020 to hold its beer.
It's always the start of an election year too, isn't it? Where it's just the absolute nuttiest stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like
I don't think we're going to have an election. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Almost
I don't think we're going to have an election.
Well, I mean, if states can just pick who's on the ballot.
Right?
We've covered that. I don't want to relive the glory days. We're going to move on with some good pop culture. You saw some stuff. I saw some stuff.
I did.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Equalizer 3 first, because I want to...
Okay.
You serve us up, because I think I've got some thoughts there too. I did watch this movie as well. Yeah.
Coming into these, I love this genre.
Same here.
I love the genre. I love the lone man helping people out, but is the most badass man on the planet,
right.
And he is goes in and wrecks house. Like
it's
all that
good
genre
Samaritan version of Jason Bourne, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that genre. It is brain candy for dudes. It is absolutely you don't have to put a lot of thought into it, and you can empathize with the lead character, and there's just a lot that goes on psychologically that I just really enjoy, but it's in its simplicity too. I think the simple nature of that kind of plot line is
and the Denzel part. Like, if it was a movie that was 2 hours long of him just reading children's stories with eyeglasses on, I'm probably still in. I love Denzel.
Me too.
Yeah.
And so he is up there with Gary Oldman for me as far as, like, if they're in it, I'll watch it kind of thing, you know? However, the Equalizer movies have been great. 1 was phenomenal. 2 was nearly as good as 1. And so I just watched 3. It just popped up, and I've been excited for it. I wanted to see it. And this one was a little different for me. I felt that the pace is slowing with Denzel's age.
Yeah.
And which is fine. I'm not going to complain that the guy's getting old. He's given me plenty of action films.
That was my headline hot take for this movie too.
Yeah.
It's like it felt a hell of a lot slower, and I think it's because of Denzel.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like what I came to realize about 2/3 of the way through the movie, the big overarching plot of the villainry was kind of convoluted, and it didn't really matter because bad guys were bad guys, but like with bringing in the CIA and everybody else, it didn't really make sense. Like they kind of like jumped through those scenes.
Right.
I think they wanted to just make a movie in that location.
That's because exactly my second hot take.
Yeah,
I felt like the whole thing was centered around the village they shot it in. Like, because they fucking wanted to be there.
Somebody vacationed there and said, let's do a cool action movie here because this place is unworldly.
Right.
And it really was. Like, that was kind of the star of the movie, was the village. It was beautiful. It's a real place. And, but it was, they brought in like mafioso, mafia stuff, and even the mafia guys weren't really intimidating all that much. Like you kind of felt like they felt
like English soccer hooligans more than they felt like mafia dudes.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what they felt like. And so and then they kind of shoehorned a loose but like love story in there that was fine. It wasn't over the top, you know. They were just kind of trying to compel you into thinking that he's found his people in his home and he really loves it here, and that would be an element that would keep him there too. So I didn't really have an issue with it. It just felt like a contrived part of the plot in order
Right.
to, you know, it was too on the nose. But there was good parts and there was good scenes. There just wasn't enough of them strung together for me to actually say it was as good as 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I think that we got more implied death than we got to see him actually kill in this one.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
the whole first scene, like he gets to kill a couple of people in front of you, but he killed 30 to 40 people prior to you even being brought to his character. And that's kind of how it felt throughout the whole thing, but it wasn't terrible. Like
Equalizer 4 is where Denzel takes on a nefarious book club.
Yeah. That's probably, if 4 happens, I think it'll probably have the nature of that.
Yeah, I think for all the reasons you stated, because those were both my hot takes. It's for all of those reasons, I would give it 1 out of 2 megs on the pop culture score here. But it was very enjoyable, and I'd still recommend it because I mean I like the whole series, and there's little nuggets and a handful of callbacks and stuff like that. But by and large, it was a showcase of Mediterranean Village, and then it co-starred Denzel and that girl that was in one of the vampire movies from back in the day. What's her name? The CIA girl,
oh, that's Dakota Fanning.
Dakota Fanning. Yeah, am I right? She was in one of those Twilight movies.
She was, yeah. But it's actually, the interesting part about that is that actually this is a come together where Dakota Fanning and him were actually in a wonderful Tony Scott film called Man on Fire.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
Oh, Denzel. Dude, if you want to see a movie that fits this genre perfectly and gives you all sorts of awesomeness, watch Man on Fire.
Okay.
And it's even got some great lines by Christopher Walken in it.
Oh,
and
sick.
it's good. It's real good. And but it's this same kind of, you know, but set in like South America.
Okay.
And she was a little girl in that, and she's the little girl that he was hired to be a bodyguard for. And a South American cartel, she's a diplomat's daughter, and the cartel kidnaps her.
Oh, see, I'm way in. I thought it was like one of those post-apocalyptic, like we're calling the former United States the land of Jericho now kind of zombie type of thing.
Not even close.
Yeah.
No, he's an old agent who's like a wreck. He's a drunk, and he gets hired. And he was like a super assassin, crazy guy, but he's down and out, and he gets hired to be a baby. Who
directed that one? Man on Fire?
Tony Scott.
It sounds like Tony Scott wrote that part for Sylvester Stallone.
Right? Yeah. But he ended up getting the, you know, and then she gets kidnapped. So then he becomes, he lights a fire on him, and he actually has to go find her and goes through a massive killing spree and it's a fantastic movie. But
awesome.
It reconnects those two actors like 20 years later. And
there you go.
So that's kind of what everybody was like, oh, Dakota Fanning is in this as the CIA agent. But
that makes more sense.
Yeah. So that's the only reason she was even in that movie. But the rest of it didn't even make sense that she was in there just for that.
All right. So you said it was a HBO Max miniseries called The Curious Case of Natalia Grace.
Yes.
Now, I knew nothing of this story. I also have HBO Max, so I'm definitely going to try and check this out. But lead us through this, because I know nothing about this.
So a couple of years ago, there was a news story about a couple living in the Midwest, and they had a couple of kids of their own, and then they adopted this little girl from the Ukraine. And Everything seemed hunky-dory, and then no one paid attention to it until it got brought into the news that they had dumped her off in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And she was living on her own in an apartment, and it became part of the legal process that got newsworthy.
Sure.
Well, through that, the news reported to everybody that there was speculation of whether or not this Ukrainian girl was actually 8 years old, 6 years old when they adopted her, but that she was actually faking it because she had dwarfism, and she was faking it. And that she was actually like 19 or 20 or 22, somewhere in there. And they had all of this evidence to prove that she was actually not the age that she claimed, and tons of witnesses to her behaviors and all of these things. And so they got her age legally changed to 22 and then put her in an apartment. And
it's fun that you can just do that. Like, I'm going to legally change my age to, 10 years ago.
Right. Well, they got doctors to sign off on this. And it's so they made a series where finally, years down the road, after all, and the dust hasn't fully settled yet. There's still some big questions on this, but it is a wild ride. It is really cringy. Like, the adopted father is the weirdest dude ever. He's hard to believe. Even when he's telling the truth, he's hard to believe because he's just that weird. The adopted mom does not come into the picture.
So this is a docu-series. They're talking to the real people. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And the little girl, Natalia, after it all comes out and this family finds her at the second apartment, she gets kicked out of the first one. So to the second apartment, finds her wandering the streets, going to this GED school that they're forcing her to get her GED at 8 years old or 9 years old or whatever. They pick her up and they're like, "This is bizarre. What are you doing?" And they bring her home and they move her into their family, and there's like 11 kids or something. And the guy ends up
11.
Yeah, they got 11 kids. So they take on this other little girl.
Sure.
And she's lived with them to this day. But the guy and the wife that found her, the guy ended up becoming a pastor, and the wife and they live in the hood too. So it's like, but they had brought her on and adopted her when she became an adult and stuff. But the original adoptive mother, Christine, she actually is not participating in this process at all, because they have all of the video and photographic evidence to prove that she was kind of the mastermind behind the whole plot, that she is a absolute psychopath and completely crazy and should be in jail. And I would imagine
could probably also clear up whether the girl's 8 years old or 22 years old.
They already figured it out. Yeah. So they didn't even need her, but they just went to the adoption agency. They found the mother in Ukraine. They actually did a secondary teeth analysis. They went and re-talked to some of the doctors and psychologists who all went either recanted or showed notes that said, "That's not what we said at all. Those are forged notes." So this little girl wasn't 22, no matter what these people said, and was actually, and you could see it because you watch her age develop from the time she was 6 when they adopted her to current day, and you're like, oh yeah, obviously she looked older when she was young. But now that she is older, you can see the dramatic difference in how she looks. And yeah, she's a little weird. She's weird for sure. There's no doubt about it. She lies a lot. There are weird things that she says. And she's been trained to say certain things, but she went through horrific trauma in the orphanages over in the Ukraine before she even got here, and then got passed to 3 families before she even got to these people. And then So she is in full, survival mode
Right.
as a little person who's also a child, who's every single time she turns around, people are abusing her, and I mean, grossly abusing her. Like,
That's horrible.
yeah, so it's a real hard watch, but it's so fascinating you can't look away. And I highly recommend it. It's super fun to watch because you're just like, every time you think it gets weirder, it takes a left, another turn this way, and then you're like, whoa, wait, hold on, we were just over here. It's so great. It's like, it's a fascinating true story of kind of like trying to untangle a nasty ball of twine that just, but the whole time it's almost hilarious in its cringiness. It's almost like Jerry Springer level cringy.
It sounded like it from your description.
Yeah,
where I was just waiting for the paternity test kind of storyline. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but highly recommend it. It's a
so how
it's one of those ones.
How long does one need to watch this? Is it like a 3-hour miniseries or like a 10-hour?
There's 2 seasons.
Oh, 2 seasons.
2 seasons, and it's they're about 42-minute episodes.
Wow.
And I think the first season is like 6 episodes, and the second season is like 4 or 5 episodes. So it's not super long, but it is a little bit of a time investment. But the minute you watch that first one, you're going to get sucked in. You'll be investing the time whether you like it or not. So,
all right. Well, I'll put it on the list for sure, because I got to travel up to Seattle next week. So
yeah, I think that would be a good one for a traveling background thing. So,
perfect. Yeah. And then finally, Rebel Moon, which we both saw. It sounds like this is Zack Snyder's odd, futuristic,
sci-fi
epic that didn't feel like it was shot epically. It felt like it was shot with a fucking GoPro at times. But take us through this. What did you think of this movie?
I was really excited to see this, and waiting for it to drop. And when it finally dropped, I went immediately into it. I've been kind of starving for some type of original kind of sci-fi, epic. So, and I can understand why people were disappointed in it or did not like it. However, I actually liked it a lot. And it was due to the fact, I think, partially because of just my starvation for this type of visuals and this type of storytelling.
Can't wait for Dune to come out, so we're going to watch Rebel Moon.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I think it has potential because I think it's supposed to be a trilogy. So I know there's at least going to be 2. There's already the trailer for the second one. But I think it was what people don't recognize about Star Wars is that Star Wars was an amalgamation of borrowed material that they, Joseph Campbelled into one kind of, storyline where
this felt like the Empire's day trip through the Outer Rim, searching for a fugitive, landing on this planet that grows stuff and then demanding resources. That was the undertones I was picking up very much too.
It's absolutely Star Wars influenced. It's absolutely Seven Samurai or the Magnificent Seven influenced. It's definitely influenced by Dune. It's definitely influenced by Firefly. It's definitely influenced by, it's like an amalgamation of all of my kind of favorite things, which I think is why I enjoyed it. I loved kind of the retelling of the Seven Samurai or the Magnificent Seven, where you gather all these interesting characters for one team to take on the big bad guy, right? I love those storylines. I also love like the Quick and the Dead storylines, where it's almost like a fighter video game where you've got Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, where all of these unique characters that that's the card player, and that's the big sumo guy, and that's the other guy, and they all come together for a brawl one-on-one, and I love those type of storylines too. But this one is one of the gathering of all of these cool, unique characters that come together to try to fight one bad thing.
A lot of these dudes were very uniquely written, and the different fighters that they're collecting to help defend the village, so to speak. I knew it was so telegraphed. I knew that Charlie Hunnam's character was going to be a POS, and I was really sad to see that because I knew he was going to be like the Judas Iscariot like character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, fuck, I was sort of hoping he'd be like one of the guys that sticks out because I really like him. I think he picks really fun roles.
I do too, yeah.
That was an unfortunate expectation that came true for me, but I enjoyed it too. I was going to tell you, is for as much as I couldn't stand the over aggressiveness on the CGI, because that part did not feel like a Zack Snyder film to me, the way that he has a very signature
definitely
like look to his movies. But
it definitely had flaws. Don't get me wrong. It definitely had flaws.
But I enjoyed the story a lot, for sure.
And I think like a lot of people complained about the lack of character development. And I'm like, I actually got quite a bit of character development out of this. I don't know why that was a complaint, but even so, it's an opening film to a bigger story arc. And so the fact is that you're going to build on that. Like if you look at the first Star Wars movie, there's not a lot of character development in Star Wars either.
Right.
Like that comes over the course of the next couple of movies where we understand Luke Skywalker for who he is.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's going to be a trilogy, I expect we're going to see a lot more character development because we just found these dudes kind of experienced what they could do in a brief moment, and now they're all together in credits roll, and it took whatever it was, 2 hours to do that. So that's my expectation.
It's a good setup. Yeah, it's a good setup film, and the ensemble cast outside of the main character, I think all the supporting cast were fantastic picks and did a really great job in this. The title character, the girl, she is cool. She didn't really stun me with anything outside of her obvious athleticism, which we saw in other movies such as The Kingsman. She's the girl from The Kingsman, and some other ones too. She's known for her athleticism, but I did not I wasn't drawn to her character very much. As they started going on and they kind of were explaining her backstory, that made me more kind of understand, I was like, okay, you're actually a really cool character. They actually wrote you out instead of just making you girl boss, and I liked that. So, but I liked the creature development. I liked the kind of absolute cat tip to the Mos Eisley Cantina. There was no way that was not completely designed that way, but it was fun. I had fun from beginning to end. The fight scenes were really cool. They did a really good with choreography on that.
They did. Yeah, the creatures I thought were the like signature to that. They did a really bizarre, like unlike anything I've seen in a long time, as far as like just the creature development in this universe that they're building. And I thought it was really cool.
I really thought it was cool too that some of it was actually practical. It wasn't digital. It was practical, like creature development, like in the bar scene, which is also a nod to the Star Wars universe. But yeah, I think that I'm looking forward to number 2, and number 2 will probably make it or break it for me. Like this one was a good setup. Let's see if they can spike it with the next one, and then the third one will only matter if
depending on how the second one goes.
Yeah, right. So
yeah, it'll either be like cool epic sci-fi chapter 2, or it's gonna be like a CW show that's like, oh,
right.
They keep getting me with cool concepts, and then it's like, this is a teen show, isn't it? Fuck, it is a teen show.
Speaking of teen shows, this is something that I did not bring up on my list, but it's something that's absorbed most of my time. I'm actually in season 3 No, just started season 4 last night.
Mm-hmm.
Of the HBO series that is based off the DC comic books Titans.
Yeah.
And I've been watching that, and it's not bad. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually really good. It's very adult. It is definitely not from
Right.
the DC comic book universe as far as the overall tone and language and violence and all of that. There's a very R-rated tone. I've never heard Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson drop so many F-bombs. You
Right.
know, little Gar, who's the I wanted to call him Changeling, but he's not. Beast Boy. You know,
Yeah.
all the characters that are from the Teen Titans Go that are like these little cutesy cartoon characters, and they're all just dropping F bombs and like banging each other and stuff like that. But it's not gratuitous to a point where it's just like, oh,
Right.
they just wanted to make all these comic book characters have sex with each other. But it is really entertaining. So, and I'm in the last season right now, so I'm enjoying it. So
Did you ever watch The Boys?
oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, that's one I think you'd get
Speaking
a
of
kick out of.
gratuitous,
Yeah. They don't pull punches on that one at all, but I was like, that's the show he would really, really like.
actually I have sitting right over here in this little black box that's right there.
The Carl Urban playbook in there.
Well, I actually have The Boys #1.
Oh,
there,
nice.
And I've had it for a long time.
Nice.
So, but The Boys The Boys comic book by Garth Ennis, like it is, like the TV show, they had to tone it down compared to the comic book. The comic book was nuts.
Yeah.
And the TV show, as nuts as the TV show is, like it's
The
not
comic
as crazy as the comic book.
Pretty savage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
and so, but the show's great though. I'm actually enjoying it. So.
I enjoyed that too. The one that I thought was visually just outrageously awesome. It's probably the best visuals thing I've seen in 5 years. Is Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. And I
haven't seen any of that yet.
Oh my God. It is like, it's just like a symphony for your eyes, the way that all the CG comes in and the way that they tried to like make real the dream realm and stuff, and they didn't overdo it in certain areas, but the characters that are all part of the ethos of I think it's Morpheus, I think.
Yeah, Morpheus. Mm-hmm.
But all of the sub characters that he's related to and the rest of the realm of heaven and hell, they got, so the gal that was in Game of Thrones, she's really tall and blonde, and she plays the axe swinging, whatever.
Yeah.
She's popular actress. I really like her a lot, and I can't remember her name. She was also in Wednesday as well as the headmaster at the school. Anyway, she plays Lucifer in that series, and she does a fucking awesome job at that. And like, I think you would really, really, really enjoy that. So check that out. It's a Netflix. It's on Netflix. I believe.
Yeah, it's been on my list, but I was actually waiting to hear other people watch it first because
I do not.
To be honest, I was afraid it was.
Yeah, I don't come from the graphic novel, so I can't tell you like if you're setting yourself up for disappointment there or not. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I know that you do come from that ilk, so you probably have really high expectations. I was not disappointed with campiness or shadowiness, or it felt really good. The dialogue was awesome, but the visuals are fucking crazy good, man.
The cool thing about Neil Gaiman, and especially that particular storyline, is that it's loose enough of a world that you can kind of play around with it and kind of pull stuff from a couple of the different storylines, because they're so ethereal and not like rigidly grounded to any source material. Like it's supposed to be that way on purpose. So I'm okay with them playing around in that world a little bit. What I was afraid of was that they were going to overwoke it, and it was just going to be like a punch to the face every episode of wokiness. And I was just like, I just want to enjoy like a cool gothy, dream world comic book show without being preached at about something. So
you're gonna get that for sure. Okay, yeah, cool. There's not over the top, surprise, Kathleen Kennedy's behind it. Like, oh no, like there's
yeah. Even Titans has a little bit, and it's so subtle that it's not really even that subtle. It's actually pretty in your face, but they don't focus on it, so it doesn't overtake the story. Like they don't like turn to the camera and go, all of these people are beautiful trans people or whatever, right. And so like it's background noise, and so it doesn't affect the storytelling the way a lot of that kind of over the top wokeness tends to do, where they make it the focus rather than the actual situations at hand and stuff like that. But yeah, give
the first 1 or 2 episodes a look. I think you really enjoy it. Like I watched all of it in 2 days. I was just like, next, what's next? And like just hammered through the whole thing. I did that, I don't know, 7-8 months ago, it feels like, but it's really, really good. I think you get a kick out of it.
Well, I will definitely put that on the to-do list very shortly. So
nice. Well, I feel like that's all we had on the notepad anyway. I don't know if you got more to go or.
No, I think I'm pretty sure I got everything out.
All the fucking weird stories we could find this week.
Yeah, my brain's tired after this episode.
I know, and you're home alone too. You'll get a chance to relax a little bit. I'm gonna try and get over this COVID business because it sucks.
Yeah,
I got to travel next week, so next week I will be probably 10 to 12 hours a day in the office. We probably won't have a show next week because I'll be remote. But right after that, we'll probably come back swinging.
Reconvene.
Yeah, I think there's 1 or 2 more guests that I'm trying to line up as well, which I think will be fun conversations. And that's about all I got. It's 2024.
Before I shut down, I also just remembered that I might have something not. Let's see. It might be next week as well. I think it might be next week. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's next week. I got the honor of being selected for jury duty.
Oh, let's go.
So
let's go.
Yeah. So I will. I might be kind of indisposed during that time frame.
Or we're doing a live show from a courtroom.
Yeah, I highly doubt they're going to select me due to the questionnaire, and some of the questions that I had to answer were like, are you close with law enforcement? Right. And I went, yeah, I'm actually pretty good friends with the county sheriff. Right. So, yeah, I don't know if that was a disqualifier question or not, but
it can, and it also can not be as well. But it's for for a regular old standard jury duty.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so someone I'm close to had not so regular old standard jury duty. They got called up for a federal, like 10 weeks, I think it was, or something like that, which turned into like 20 weeks of jury duty, where they were basically going through all this crazy evidence so that they could like pass it to a real jury trial. And it was like a RICO thing. So there was, it just kept coming. So they're like, yeah, this one's going to be like up to 6 months. We need you every week at this time. And it was like pretty brutal. And she was selected. So it was like, oh, well, you lucked out. Like I usually tell them as much as I can to get them to not select me. Like, do you have any preconceived feelings on their guilt or innocence? Be like, fuck yeah, they're guilty. You arrested them, didn't you? Oh, okay, you can go. Like, all right. So, well, good luck with that.
Your officers have poor judgment? Is that what you're saying?
Is that on the record? And you just pretend to record them? Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, I don't mind if I get it. Like, it doesn't bother. It's only for like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And I'll find out on the 12th if I'm actually going to be a part of this. But I have been selected. This will be my 3rd time being selected, but I've never had to serve because the other ones got dismissed before we even got there, or I just wasn't selected. But if it happens this time, I'm actually in a weird place where I'd actually be fine with it for the first time ever. Normally it's an enormous inconvenience, but it happens to run on, like, I think I'll miss a day of work, and I'm in a position to do that with what I do. So I'm like, if it happens, it happens. I'll sit on a jury and throw fish, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. Let us know how it turns out.
Cool.
If we don't have back-to-back week offs, we'll probably see you week after next. Certainly when I get back from traveling, we'll have more content coming your way. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, everywhere you go. We're probably there. It's Modern Relics Podcast. I think it's also Modern Relics Podcast at gmail.com. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Don't dig tunnels where you're not supposed to. Stay off Epstein Island and treat your judges fairly. Just saying. We'll talk to you soon.
That's some great advice. Going into 2024, I think that's some pretty solid advice.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.